Ukrainian military expert Dmitry Snegirev said that spare parts used in Bulava intercontinental ballistic missiles were found at the site of the Oreshnik fall. In his opinion, the reaction from Western countries to the Oresnik tests was not what Putin had expected. The Netherlands handed over 3 Patriot air defense missile launch systems to us, which significantly strengthened Ukraine's anti-missile and air defense. By the way, Patriot can work on Oreshnik warheads or Kedr in the Ukrainian classification. Also, Western countries unanimously stated that they will not reduce the pace of military technical support for Ukraine, he noted on air at Espreso. The analyst emphasized that British intelligence stated that Oreshnik is most likely the working name of the RS-26 project, which is better known in Russian classification as an unimplemented missile project that was terminated in 2011. The West understands perfectly well what they are dealing with. Moreover, spare parts used in Bulava intercontinental ballistic missiles were found at the site of the Oreshnik fall. These missiles went on combat duty in 2012. Accordingly, what new technologies Putin is talking about is a question exclusively for him, Snegirev added. There is nothing particularly new in the capabilities of the Oreshnik missile. The use of this type of weapon will not lead to an escalation of the war by Russia, reports the Institute for the Study of War, ISW. The report states that Russian President Vladimir Putin's efforts to highlight the technical characteristics of the Oreshnik missile are part of a broader reflexive control campaign being conducted by the Kremlin. The ISW believes that emphasizing the missile's range and payload while comparing its destructive capabilities to that of a meteor is intended to intimidate Ukraine and the West and divert Kyiv from further Ukrainian strikes on Russian territory using Western systems. Even Putin's threat of strikes on decision-making centers in Kyiv rings empty. Russian forces regularly strike civilian and critical infrastructure in Kyiv city with drones and nuclear-capable missiles, the report states. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski summarized this fact on November the 29th in response to Putin's statements at a CSTO Security Council meeting in Kazakhstan, saying Putin wants to add thousands more to the thousands of missiles that have already hit Ukraine.
نحن من قلب مطار أبو ظهور بعد تمشيط مطار أبو ظهور حاليا نحن في قلب مطار أبو ظهور مشط مطار أبو ظهور وأسرنا هذول العسكريين. الله أكبر. من أنت ولك؟ من ريف الشام؟ من قطنة؟ أنت عسكري؟ قديش صار لك عسكري؟ 2 وأنت؟
من جوبر من الشام صار لي 2
أنت من جوبر؟
إيه.
طيب ما شفت أهلك؟ ما شفت أهل الشام؟
والله جابوني غصبا عني.
ما شفت أهلك قطع صار فيهم؟ غصبا عنك. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. أبناء قبيلة البقارة. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
أخو ترتسي هلهلي.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. أبطال إدارة العمليات العسكرية قوات ردع العدوان بعد تطهير معرة النعمان بالكامل تم أسر مجموعة كاملة من ميليشيات الأسد وميليشيات إيران. الله أكبر. ولا زال الزحف جاري إلى ما بعد معرة النعمان وتطهير كامل المناطق المحررة إن شاء الله.
Insurgents breached Syria's second-largest city Aleppo after blowing up 2 car bombs on Friday and were clashing with government forces on the city's western edge, according to a Syria war monitor and fighters. Residents were fleeing neighborhoods on the city's edge because of missiles and gunfire, according to witnesses in Aleppo. The insurgents' advance on Aleppo followed a shock offensive they launched on Wednesday, as thousands of fighters swept through villages and towns in Syria's northwestern countryside. Robert Ford, the last-serving U.S. ambassador to Syria before the U.S. suspended embassy operations early in the civil war, said the fighting in Aleppo would become more broadly destabilizing if it drew Russia and Turkey, each with their own interests to protect in Syria, into direct heavy fighting against each other. The war is heating up a bit and will heat up until Turkey and Russia come to an agreement about a new ceasefire, explained Ford.
we see an offensive primarily by the terrorist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is usually in English referred to by its acronym HTS. It's an offensive that they are undertaking with help from some other Syrian opposition armed groups. They are pushing east from the northwestern Syrian province of Idlib, just immediately south of Turkey, into the neighboring province of Aleppo. It matters because the Syrian armed opposition, including HTS, has essentially been fighting a static war for the last 5 years. And the Syrian government has occasionally bombed or launched very small-scale incursions into these remaining armed opposition-controlled areas. But there hasn't been fighting of this scale for many years. And reason it's also important is that the Syrian government's forces have been extremely weak and have rapidly retreated.